So let's start. So what is research? Okay, so all these definitions, concepts, what I'm telling you, teaching you is, in general, I want you to know about research, what type of philosophies, concepts are there. I'm not teaching you only for something related with your coursework or project. I'm trying to tell you as a whole. Wherever is required for coursework, I will flag it to you so that you can say, oh, this looks like mine. Because the same research can be done in different ways. Okay, so let's start. What is a research? So Albert Einstein's one. So he says, if we know what we are doing, then it should not be called as research. So meaning is, when you do a research, you are trying to do something which is unknown. Okay, remember I told you that they are looking for research gap. What is gap? Gap is something like known, unknown issues only. So everybody knows about this. There has been few people who have studied about this. Then why you have to study? Already people studied. Okay, my students last time studied about these topics. You also go and study that topic. Why you have to do it? You do literature review, you search, you see, for example, 1,000 people study about sustainability over last 2 years, especially sustainability is in Singapore or ASEAN. Then why you go and study that? So you have to find the gap. You have to find what is it called unknown areas. So same applies here. This particular definition or meaning is always there. So when you start working with your research project, these are the challenges. Okay, so you have to pick a topic. You have to do a researchable question. So you have to navigate the ethics part. You want to do things in your way, but at the same time that your way should not actually go and hit the ethics application process. So you have to navigate that. You have to do literature review. There is something about research methodology, research design matters. You have to come up with the proposal, collect data, analyze and write, do the writer.
I think the topic is the most difficult because out of nowhere, where are we going to pick a topic just like that?
Sure.
So if we have some guide, this topic you can research, maybe they will be helpful.
We will.
Oh.
We will help you. So this is what I said. So we are here to help you. Just follow the plan and guidelines. Okay. So I'm just telling you the real challenge most of the students will actually go through. Nothing but these are the various stages in your research itself. That means this particular strategic project itself. So at the end, what will actually see? What you will actually see? What is going to be the outcome? You will actually see a report, which is 8,000 words. And this report usually consists of around chapter 5, sometimes say chapter 7 also. So which is nothing but introduction chapter, literature review chapter, methodology chapter, then results, analysis, discussion, conclusion, references. All those are going to be your final outcome.
If I use charts, graphs, and tables, does that affect the number of words?
No,
I can have any amount of charts I want.
you can. See, when you look at the word count excludes tables, references, abstract.
Even though they are in the main body.
Yes.
Do my caption toward the graph count in the word count or outside the word count?
It depends on how you actually put it.
I caption directly below the graph.
I will tell you. Some of my students do this. Okay, so what they do is actually the tables and all, they convert into image and put it there. So when you put there, what happens is you submit and turn it in. The similarity, they will also give a number. So that particular number will actually be the number what you want to have it. But each image will be counted as one word. Do you understand? So in your normal MS Word, when you see, it is 8,100. But when you see the Turnitin, when it comes off, it will be 8,148. What is that? 48 is your 48 images inside. So some of them do those things.
Oh, so if I use equations, they won't count the words.
So what is considered? Is it that Turnitin is going to be considered, or the Word document value is going to be considered?
They will do only Turnitin because yours will be, they will be marking using Turnitin grade marks.
No, because now because when you talk about that, there is what you call the contents, and then there's the appendix values also.
Yes.
So Turnitin will not be able to distinguish that, right?
No, Turnitin will not be distinguished, but they will understand how is it. I will tell you very simply, if your entire project, if you are going to use 1.5 line spacing or 2 line spacing for 8,000 words, roughly we know how big, how many number of pages you do it. So in the end, you write, mine is 8,120, okay, but it is 9,000. Here and there is okay, because they don't have time to actually delete all the images and the other, your title pages, because if you look at the template, you will have cover sheet, title pages, acknowledgement, you thank you Murthy, you thank you, you thank you Kumar, you thank you Dimitris, everyone. That all we have to delete and do it, okay, which we don't have time. But roughly we know that, oh, this is a decent one. But the moment you go and put 15,000 words and then you write 8,160, then they definitely know. So you need to play around. Okay, so I think we'll discuss more about that at that point of time. Okay, so I will be giving you, I have provided in this particular slide itself, slides itself. So what is going to be the estimated numbers you have to work on? So we will work accordingly. So chapter 1, how many words? Chapter 2, how many words? Like that we will work. Okay, so a few more definitions. Let's actually rush through. So again, this definition will not be useful to you at all for your assignment or report, but you need to understand what is research. If somebody asks you what is it, you say that strategic project is about research. Then somebody asks you what is research. By now you will say that, hey, research means there is something research cap. I know. Research is something about something I try to find, something is unknown. Known thing is not research. Okay, so some of them say, hey, known thing still you want to reconfirm, you want to do research. That is okay. That is okay. So that is what you do it. So it can be a formalized curiosity. So it is something done with a purpose. And importantly, it has to be done in a systematic way, and it helps in increasing the knowledge. So the research has to be done in a systematic way. So that is what this particular subject is about. That is what I'm going to teach you about. How to do research in a systematic way. So you guys are working, maybe middle level, maybe first line or senior managers. You may be doing research in your company. Okay, so there are ways you are doing research. But this particular work, this particular subject is to teach you, tell you how to do it systematically. Okay, so when you do that, then that is called research. So the nature of research, I would say that you have to collect data systematically. Without collecting data, you do a research, that is not okay. Okay, and you have to interpret it systematically. So that's where Kumar comes in. Okay, so you do the statistical analysis. It is not always you put a bar chart or pie chart and then say this is what it is. You can play with the data with many things. You can try to find association between variables. You can try to find relationship between variables. That is, analysis of variance can be done. You can do chi-square, you can do correlation, you can do regression, you can do projection. There are many things which you can do. All those are part of your research. The data collected can be interpreted systematically. And remember, everything, whatever you do, there should be a clear purpose. So if you have read few of the articles, definitely for other subjects, when you do literature review, you should have seen few articles in the journals. You will find the last part, which says findings, recommendations, practical implications of the study. That is all nothing but the purpose. That is the closure why you have done that particular research. What is the end result? So this is about the nature of the research. So this is about research in general. Now let us move to, you are studying MBA, Global MBA program. It is more towards business and management. If you ask me, Murthy, is it different? The normal research, even somebody who's actually doing biomedical, somebody is doing chemistry, they also do research. I'm doing MBA management. I'm also doing research. Is it slightly different? Yes. Why you do research, your features of research is slightly different. So for example, managers actually draw knowledge on other disciplines. So if you look at managers, your business management people, so you don't really look at only one side. You are multidisciplinary. So you try to see things in different perspective. For example, you talk about the sales is dropping. Is it a problem to you? Is it a problem? We will agree that it is a problem, but actually that is not a problem. That is the symptom. It is a symptom. So your temperature is high. Temperature is high. The body temperature is high is a symptom. The problem is something else. So when you look at the problem, sales is dropping is a symptom. The problem is maybe, number one, there has been a new competitor in the market. Or maybe the existing competitor has reduced his pricing. The pricing policy of somebody else have actually affected you. Or maybe the macro environment has changed. Maybe the inflation has gone up. Maybe your HR person, you have not paid your salesman very well. Your commissions are not enough. So he is not motivated. So what is it? You can see there is an accounting problem, there is a finance problem, there is also HR problem. So it can actually overlap with multiple disciplines. So when you actually look at a business management research, you have to see things in a different perspective. Also, managers, whenever they do any research, they look at commercial or personal advantage. So when I say this commercial or personal advantage, remember this, I told you here, practical implications. When you do your research, it is all about practical implications, how it is going to help. If it is not going to help, then you will never do that research. Okay, so that is how it is. And importantly, managers are nowadays tend to be as educated as the researchers. So you need to have the practical aspects inside. If there is no practical aspects, the research doesn't work in business and management side. So when we talk about, so you may ask me, what is that practical approach? What is that practical things? Okay, so here, let us actually see research in two different types. One is pure research, another one is called applied research. Research can be classified into two major categories called pure research and applied research. What is pure research? Pure research is basic, fundamental. So meaning is this will actually be mostly used in the academic institutions. So where you have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, so it is normally done in universities. For example, I do research. So I have to follow certain things. So you are now part of the academic system. So you have something to do, correct? So I tell you, hey, you have to do part 1. You have to do part 2. That is the proposal. Then you have to get the ethics approval. Then only you have to collect data. Then you do analysis. Then you have to submit. So I say that you should have 7 chapters, 5 chapters, all those things. So what is that? That is pure research or academic research. Okay, so yours looks like academic research, but at the same time, it is an MBA program. So you should also look at something which is relevant to the managers. So all of you in your organizations or the managerial level people will actually do research. So when you do a research which is relevant to the managers, then that is called applied research. So I gave you an example, sales is dropping. You do a research on that. So you ask, you have a weekly meeting, then you see the numbers dropping last 3 weeks. Then you call your guy, you ask him, what is it happening? I want you to give me the answer by next 3 days. So what he does, he just go and do a research. He doesn't follow part 1, part 2, ethics, all those things. Correct? So that is applied research. More of immediately, oh, sales is dropping last 4 weeks. What happened? So he goes and checks every different point. So that is actually applied research. So what you will do is pure research, but where possible, try to bring in applied aspects. Okay, so when you look at the research, at the end, you have to come up with only this. You have to start with some particular issues and problems. Okay, so you have to start with research problem. You do a background study, do a situation analysis, come up with problems. From problems, you will have objectives. Do the research, come up with solutions. And you may have multiple solutions, but what is going to be the solution you are proposing? That is nothing but your chapter 5. Okay, you did the analysis, you find this, and then finally you say that, oh, this is my solution, this is my recommendation, this is my suggestion. So this is how your research flows. Okay, so now let's move towards next 10, 12 slides. You will actually see some new terms that I'm going to introduce to you. Okay, so don't worry too much about this, but at least you should have heard this somewhere. If somebody asks you, oh, what is epistemology? What is ontology? What is realism? At least you should know, I know that it is something in research. And because there are many, many terms, you may not use all. You may use only few of them in your own research. What is that few? After learning this, you will understand. And normally, if you are not doing it, for example, I never did anything with this subjectivism. There is a research term called subjectivism. So my 20 years as a researcher and teacher, and before that as a student, I have never used that subjectivism. So I believe none of you will use subjectivism, but you need to know what is it if somebody asks you. We will cover all those things in another 15-20 minutes. First one, epistemology. What is epistemology? It is the theory of knowledge. Okay, so if somebody asks you what is epistemology, it is theory of knowledge. So meaning is you need to know what is the meaning of knowledge. Okay, so the meaning of knowledge here is, the definition is rules of knowing. It is something about, to me, knowledge means it is my belief, it is my justification. If you think in that particular way, then that is actually epistemology. So it is how you understand the word. So for example, if you say that my morals came from this, my love is this, my God is this. So these are all beliefs, these are all truths, and these are all justification. So this is about theory of knowledge. Okay, so there is another one. So it is not always only belief. It can also be real, what it exists. then that is actually called as ontology. Okay, so epistemology and ontology. So when I understood something, when I categorize something, so when I actually do things, oh, this is what is real, then that becomes slightly different. That is called ontology. Have any one of you studied these books? Okay, this is something related to psychology. So psychology, this particular
These
author,
are all about past life
yes, it is something related to past
Okay.
life.
or regression, if you're taking psychological terms.
Wonderful. So you know that. Okay, so this particular author, Brainwaves, he actually did. So he's a psychologist. He tries to help people when they have problems, actually. So when he was trying to, hypnotism, all those things. So he was trying to do help with his particular patients. Suddenly, one of the patient, instead of thinking about what happened last week, last month, last 1 year, went into past life. So then that past life, based on that particular patient's experience, he came up with something. Okay, so he wrote few books actually. So the first one started with Many Lives, Many Masters. His particular work in psychology is considered as path breaking. So people still try to say that, is it possible, not possible? There is always a critic there. But if you look at it, this particular research is called ontology. What is it is, he tried to study what exists. He understands and he tried to categorize it.
So you can study metaphysics and you can use words like karma, and he probably repeated karma many times in his book.
In this books, it is all covered actually. So what he has done is, it is not only about his students' experience. He tries to actually understand. So he went on to study what is happening in Christianity, what is happening in Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, everything. And then he tried to relate it to what he has actually undergone with his patients. So little bit, categorizing it. Okay, so that's, I'm quite fascinated about that. So I read all his books actually. So then I understood that he is trying to do a research which is called ontology. Okay, so that is what I'm giving you an example. My own experience is ontology. After studying and teaching business management for last more than 2 decades. So if you ask me, Murthy, management history, can you tell me how you classify? So I will say that there are 4 major schools of management thought. First one is classical school, next one is human resources, human relations, third one is contingency, and fourth one is contemporary. So classical school means, to me, it is all something which happened in bureaucracy, administrative theory, scientific management, something related to 1930s and before. After that, 1940s, 1950s came the next one called human resources theory. It all started with Hawthorne experiment, which is 1924 to 1932. So that is the first time people understood that there is something called human element coming in. So then 1943 came Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. Okay, you know, hierarchy of needs. You talk about physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, self-esteem, self-actualization. That was in 1943, Maslow gave. Then Herzberg gave, Herzberg, not Carlsberg. So Herzberg gave in 1950, 56 is two-factor theory. So that is the HR school. Then we had something called organization structure, whether the structure actually makes a difference. So that becomes contingency school. So you know that structure can be pyramid structure can be vertical structure, or structure can be flat structure, or structure can be networks. I'm talking about organization structure. So that is all happened in 1980s, and it is even in 1970s, the flat structure came in. Vertical structure has been there even during bureaucracy period. So if you look at year 2000, you have a lot of networks coming in. So if you look at contemporary happened to be from 1980s onwards, where you have the Japanese school of management came in. So theory, Z, all those things came in. All those. So that all started, it actually started with the statistical thought started somewhere in 1960s. Six Sigma all came later part. So that is all we talk about the contemporary schools of management thought. Okay, is American school good or Japanese school good, or have to merge that? There is theory Z.
But that's process management, sir.
Also comes.
Yeah.
If you look at contemporary management, TQM, total quality management, BPR, business process reengineering. Okay, so there are many models. For example, you talk about 7S model. You have someone called Peter Senge, who actually gave dance of change. So he gave, there are 5 major systems which you have to look at. All those, it's a different discussion altogether. But I'm telling you, after me studying, teaching all these things over many years, then what I did, this is what I understood and this is what I categorize. So if I do that, then this research is called ontology. Okay. Next one, realism. Okay, so realism, if you look at it, realism is more logical, or you can even argue that it is pragmatism. So what is that? Is realism is when you do a research, that research, when you see that it exists independently of perception. When you do a research and that research exists independently of perception, then that is called realism. For example, China's balancing role towards US and international relations with reference to South China Sea claims. You can see that there are 3 parties involved here, correct? China, US, and other international countries, so whichever country is. Okay, so if you go and do a research about this topic in China, you get a different answer. You go and do the same topic, the research in US, you get a different answer. You go to, for example, Vietnam or Indonesia, or those countries which have issues with South China Sea, then they have a different answer. So what is it? It is independent of their perception. Okay, so if you try to study the perception, then it is realism. Most of the students will use this. If you are studying about employee perception, if you are studying about public perception, you are studying about customer perception, you are studying about anything related to the independent state of the mind, people's mind, what they actually say, what they perceive, then that is called realism. Next one. Next one is actually called empiricism. As I said, I'll be going through many terms. Okay, not all terms you will be using. Next term is called empiricism. So empiricism, they have a slightly different view. They say that certain things can be through observation. Okay, it doesn't need to have always words. It doesn't need to have understand a perception only in one way. There is another way which is actually called absorbing people. So that is about empiricism. So if you see, this is a famous certain sentences I'm just putting in case you like about empiricism, I would say that just go and have a look at it. If you're a psychologist, what happens? Okay, it is not only asking questions. So you may need to absorb people. You may need to understand how is it. If you're a consumer psychologist, what you do? You do things in a different way. For example, you're a consumer psychologist. You go to, for example, Fair Price or or cold storage. You just go there and watch your customers, what they're doing. Okay, so you put, for example, A4, 10% discount. You see many people coming near on it. Instead of A4, what you do is you put in A3. You see more people are coming on it. A4, white color sheet, more people coming in, or yellow to black, is it more people coming in? So if you start looking at it, then that becomes empiricism. So if your study is more about absorbing people, then it's slightly different. Okay, so if you ask me about empiricism, is it popular? How is it? Many of you would actually know about people like Plato and Aristotle. So these people have their own views actually. Plato looks at rationalism, but Aristotle looks at totally different way, that is empiricism, which has actually been the future philosophy, not only in Europe, but also beyond Islamic world and Africa, India, and beyond actually. So research can be done in different ways. There is another research called positivism. So what is positivism is, this is true knowledge is scientific. That is the belief here. So when you try to do things in scientific method, if you use experiments, statistics, all those things in your research, then it may become positivism. For example, if you are doing a finance project, if you are doing a finance related research, okay, so what you do is you want to take the balance sheet, last 5 years data, you try to analyze it using statistical methods, then that is called positivism. Okay, so for example, then I put an analysis of effects on foreign direct investment on GDP growth in China. What is it? I'm taking two variables, correct? Variable one is foreign direct investment. Second one is GDP growth rate. So foreign direct investment in China, if it is going up, then the GDP growth rate is also going up. So if you want to study the effects of that, it is an experiment. Then that is actually called positivism. Okay. Yeah.
So you probably think that empiricism, econometricians, right, of the small little things and generalize from that. And it seems like there's an overlap between that and positivism.
There will be overlaps. There will be overlaps. For example, this particular one, you can argue that it is also realism. But remember, step one only we are looking at it. You are trying to see only what is the construct of the research. There are few things which will go down in the research methodology part. So once you arrange all those things only, then you will know exactly what you do. Okay, of course, realism, positivism will be more or less nearby. It is only minor things what you do. So for example, you study perception, then it becomes realism. Okay, so but if you try to do a variable one, variable two, and then try to actually play with that, then that becomes positivism. Okay, so once you have your topic and other things aligned, then we can actually discuss.
Big like that, too general or too big things. Yeah, research or we have to be specific to certain segment or certain localized.
I would say that
It's a big thing, you know.
it is big.
Topic.
It is big. But only thing here is you cannot collect primary data here. I will tell you exactly the same topic. One of my doctorate student is doing for his doctoral thesis. And that is actually not in China, for Vietnam he is doing. So it can be done. Even you guys can do it, but it is about, you need to understand how much time you can actually provide for your studies. So that makes the difference actually. So if you're working, you don't have much time, you're not very comfortable in numbers. For example, you understand if you're an economist already, you're working in economics department. then you know what is foreign direct investment. You know what is GDP growth rate, where to get the data. So for you it's easy. But somebody who studied international business last semester, so and want to do something, for them it will be a little bit different. Okay, of course we will cover all those things, how it's going to fit in. It will help you. Next one, relativism. Okay, so when you try to study something which is about relative, so comparing country A and country B, culture A and culture B, then that particular one is called relativism. When you try to see that, you need to agree, understand that there is no universal perspective, universalistic perspective, because there is no one best thing in the world. And usually what happens is, in international business, there is a term called ethnocentrism. I don't know whether you're aware of that. Ethnocentrism means when you are, I'm giving you an example. So you're a Singapore company, you want to go and start business in Indonesia. You go in there, and then whatever you do in Singapore, you implement there. Because you think that I'm very good in Singapore because of these reasons, so I want to implement the same culture in Indonesia. So that is called ethnocentric behavior. But after some time, you understood that Singapore is different, Indonesia is different, it doesn't work. So then you go to another stage. That stage is called, each market is unique. Then that is called polycentric. So then in Indonesia, you have different, for example, 4 Ps. Singapore 4 Ps different, Indonesia 4 Ps different, China 4 Ps different, Philippines different. Then after some time, after 5 years, you understood that no need to have things like that. It can be regiocentric. What is regiocentric is certain region you can have same 4 Ps. For example, ASEAN more or less, or ASEAN 5 countries more or less, the consumer behavior is same, or the purchasing power is same, whatever it is. So based on that, you come up with 4 Ps for ASEAN. So that is called geocentric. Regiocentric. The last one, geocentric, means entire world, same 4 Ps. For example, you look at Apple products. Apple products, they try to have something which is geocentric. Yeah.
You were addressing just different parts of demographics. Demographic study is very prevalent in market research.
Demographics, you will cover also that. You will cover also that. So irrespective of whatever topics you do, you will cover that. But again, it depends on whether it is needed or not. If you're, for example, if I want to study about financial performance analysis, I want to actually interview the financial finance managers of a company, or vice president finance of a company. Okay, 50 companies I go and interview. Do I need to know their age? Do I need to know their gender? May not be, because your level of research is somewhere there. There, all those demographic matters may not be there. So it depends whether you need or not. So when you do your research, when you do your survey, each and every question has to be related to your research. Which is not related to research, don't even ask them. Okay, coming back to ours, relativism, if you see, it is about culture part. Okay, so I told you a little bit about international business, which is ethnocentrism, polycentrism, regiocentrism. Regio means region, geocentrism means entire geography. Okay, so when you try to study eating beef, okay, so US versus India is different. Drinking alcohol or Islamic countries is different. Other countries are different. Women wearing shorts, face uncovered. You think about US, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Sudan is all different. So when you try to do research on comparing, then that becomes relativism.
The first example just now, you're talking about McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Big Mac Index didn't work in India.
Yes. Okay, so if you look at the relativism, I'm giving you a few more. So if you are watching Netflix, then you may have seen these type of the serials. This is actually Spartacus in Netflix. So this is Gladiator. You should have seen this. So if you see even the socio-historic context, when you try to study, then there is relativism. For example, if you see, this is about slaves. Okay, if your study is about equal opportunity among slaves in ancient Roman Empire. Okay, so Roman Empire is where Spartacus came in. So he's a slave who went against the Roman Empire. So these people are all slaves at that time. You can see they belong to different nationalities. Okay, so equal opportunity among slaves, if you want to study, then that also becomes relativism. Okay, then there is another term called social constructivism. What is social constructivism is, if you want to study something related to social influence, if you are trying to study, collect data and do something that is going to have an impact on the society, then that is actually have social constructivism. For example, if your study is related to gender, you know that last couple of weeks there is a lot of discussions in the parliament and outside about women in organizations. So that's a white paper or paper being presented about women, opportunities for women, challenges for women. In case you do a study, something like that, then that is called social constructivism. You study about gender influence, impact, then that is social constructivism. You know what is glass ceiling? So glass ceiling means, you know that managers level, different levels of managers, okay, top managers, middle managers, first line managers, non-managerial category. So executive level. So at the executive level, you see across the world, male, female is more or less, okay, 50-50%. But if you move to first line managers, that means supervisors, managerial level, first level, you will see that it becomes 65-35 or 60-40. And you go to middle managers, then you see suddenly that it is 80-20. So 80% of males, only 20-25, 30% of females. You go to the board level, that is senior management, vice president, president, those type of top manager level, you see that it is only 10%, 5% of females. So what is it? We talk about equal opportunities, but there is a sort of invisible class which is actually hiding, that they're not allowing the women to go up. Okay, so if you try to study, that is the term which is called as glass ceiling. Okay, so if you try to study something about that, then that becomes social constructivism. Then there is something called subjectivism. What is subjectivism is when you try to study something and that depends on their own experience and their personal experiences, then that becomes subjectivism. Usually it is a qualitative one. Let's take an example. You can see an African American mother's perception of quality childcare. Okay, African American mother's perception of quality childcare. The definition of quality, so you know that in US, the category of the citizens or people would be something like the Americans, whites, then followed by Hispanics. They are Spanish speaking people. And next one is African Americans. So you have Asians also. We have different category of people. Each of those people are at different level. But if you see by and large, the African American people, they are low income people, so low educated. So you see majority of them have a different way of life, slightly at the lower side, comparing the others. So then you look at their quality childcare. So their quality childcare may be something related to food and minimum education, that's all. But the same thing is not true for others. Okay, so when you try to study something like that, then that is called subjectivism. So these are few terms I want you to know very clearly. Right? So clear? I started off with nothing. I gave you overview about this module, your expectation, tried to set things for you. Then I moved into number one, what is research? I told you something unknown, you have to do it. Okay, not something which is known. Then what I said about characteristics of research, nature of research. I told you it have to be systematically, data have to be collected. I told you that there should be a purpose, and collected data have to be interpreted systematically. Then I told you that there is a difference between normal research and business management research. In that, I ended up saying that research can be of two major types. I told you first one is pure research and second one is applied research. So what is pure research? Nothing but what you are doing. It is academic research. Applied research is what managers do, what you're all doing on day-to-day basis. That is applied research. After that, I told you I'm introducing few terms. Okay, so I started off with what is epistemology, which is theory of knowledge, which is belief. Then we moved on with the next one is ontology. Then we moved on with what is realism, what is empiricism, what is relativism, what is positivism. So these are few things which we have seen. Clear? So now let's move to the next one, a research approach. So research approach can be of two types, or we can say three types. Okay, so it can be qualitative research or quantitative research. What is qualitative research is there is no data involved, quantified data involved. Okay, what is quantitative research means? You use numbers, quantified data. Then that is called quantitative research. There is something called mixed research also, which you can use both quantitative and qualitative together. Okay, so for example, if you're doing a survey, if you're asking people to actually fill the form, okay, so 5-point scale, male, female, yes, no, so 1, 0, what is your age, what is your income, you ask all those, these are all numeric data. So then that becomes quantitative approach. What is qualitative approach means? It may be something related to not related to words, it can be beyond that also, like images, experiences, observations. For example, you watch, okay, so how the customer is doing. I'm a consumer psychologist. I go and just keep on watching the consumer, what they do. Then that becomes qualitative approach. I write a report. That is actually observation research. So sometimes you may go for an interview. Okay, so you may go and ask people, so if I come here and I'm doing an interview, so what do you think about ULFBA program? So each one of you give different answers. Okay, what do you think about Amity? So you give different answers. So when it is an open-ended questions, the words can itself become a qualitative research. Quantitative research means the same question, if I ask, deal with you with numbers. Okay, so out of 5-point scale, tell me whether you like strategic project module. 5, give 5 for highly satisfied. 4 for satisfied, 3 for neither satisfied. So if I give that 5-point scale, then you say 3, 4 like that. Then that is, I'm collecting quantitative data. But at the same time, ask you, so what do you think about strategic project lesson today? So then each of you will have different things to say. It is an open-ended question. Then that data becomes qualitative data. Sometimes you can mix both, open and closed end, quantitative and qualitative. Then that is called mixed approach. I've tried to provide you where things are normally linked with. So you can see quantitative approach, most of the time it uses realism, empiricism, positivism. Qualitative approach, most of the time it is relativism, social constructivism, and subjectivism. Okay, so just for you to relate back in future. Oh, this is what I think I'm going to do then. Let me just do a cross check. So your first work now is you have to actually